All right, welcome everybody to the Cyber Pipe Showdown, presented by Glass Torch Technologies and Moodmats. I'm your host, Eli Harrington here, co-host Rajan Tech.
Howdy.
So, the Cyber Pipe Showdown. This is a unique, one-of-a-kind event. Raj and I are going to be here all week, live on YouTube, on Facebook. You are part of this competition. Everybody who's watching this, you can vote, you can participate. And we're going to be able to feature a ton of great artists, going to be talking to collectors, going behind the scenes. But first and foremost, this is a competition. And the Bern Gallery, the ones making this possible, we've got a nice assist from Canaplanners, helping us behind the scenes with our tech. So shout out to our production team, making this happen, bringing us into this space station here where we'll be broadcasting all week. We'll have to trade these out for some actual spacesuits once we get acclimated to the low gravity. But again, the Cyber Pipe Showdown, this is something people know the Bern Gallery all around the world from the Pipe Classic. And the Pipe Classic is coming back. But Cyber Pipe Showdown, this is something that was sort of an innovation born out of COVID and different circumstances, and something we tried for the first time last year. I think with great success. I mean, I hope you had a good time.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
And our folks who are out there, you know, we went through some hiccups, we figured some things out about voting, we featured a ton of great artists though, so we're back better than ever. And this event lives on its own, the Cyber Pipe Showdown. We're able to reach way more people than just a week here in Burlington, Vermont. But again, Pipe Classic 15 is going to come back next year, 2022, knock on wood. This event a little bit, like we said, it's a competition. People are going to vote on it. We need you folks, and if you want to vote, we want you to vote. Head over to berngallery.com. That's where you're going to see instructions, how to sign up, how to register, and how you can participate and help determine the winner of the Cyber Pipe Showdown. So, Raj, before we tell these people who we are, standing in front of them here, sitting in front of them from the space station, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the actual competition itself, and how it works. We're going to do our breakdown tonight. People probably have seen the bracket, but how does the competition actually work?
Well, everybody registers online, and when you get to berngallery.com and you click vote, you'll be prompted with a little message that tells you to log in with your Facebook, and it goes through a two-factor authentication, and then you'll be prompted with a short instructional video, and then you'll be able to vote on whatever bracket you like to vote on. And we're going to go through every day. Another bracket is going to come down, and in the end, we'll be left with the final two.
Right on. So people, you know, are familiar with March Madness or, you know, any of these tournament brackets. Pretty simple concept. But, you know, again, this is a big democratic process. I don't mean that in a political sense here, folks. I mean that in terms of it's determined by the people, you know, who are out there who are voting, the collectors, the enthusiasts, the artists. So, you know, there are some technical parts of this, right? And there's a reason why we have two-factor authentication on the voting. And we've actually had, you know, some competitors who have been disqualified, even kind of before we got started. So let's give a little bit of context to folks as sort of how this bracket was sort of set up, right? Because last year we had, you know, sort of a free-for-all and we had to change it in the middle. So give a little background here of how this was set up. Because people want to know, you know, is the competition fair? How does it work? How can I influence it?
Sure.
You know, is everything on the up and up? So,
well, in the beginning, there was a bunch of people who requested to be part of it. Of those, the top were selected. And then they're each given a set amount of time to complete their piece and, you know, submit their submission. But throughout that process, you know, when everyone's pushing themselves this hard, the chances of having a catastrophic failure are pretty high. And sometimes that, you know, you may have been spending weeks on this piece, and then the very last day, something catastrophic happens, and you know, there's no recovering from that if it happens towards the end of that cycle.
And so, I mean, just a couple of things for people to take out. The competition aspect. People are making pieces for this competition specifically, right? And so they've been prepping this, they've been preparing, kind of like, you know, the Pipe Classic, if you were going to come do it here in person. So these are unique pieces made for, you know, this event. And disqualified doesn't necessarily mean any kind of shenanigans.
No,
right?
no.
A lot of time it might mean that this piece, like you said, they've put in dozens of hours, hundreds of hours, you know, and something happens
unable
at the last
to submit. And then as a result, the bracket that we did have was highly imbalanced. So there was a rebalancing and we continued on in the most fair and balanced way that we could manage that.
Yeah, and I mean, part of this is that, this is really voted on by the people. So, other pipe making competitions, you've got a panel of judges or competitors are judging each other. This one, there are a lot of different factors that are going to go into what the public ultimately decides, is the winning piece
That's right.
from this competition.
That's right.
So, it's an interesting snapshot because it's not necessarily the most complex piece or the hardest technical piece, to make that wins this. I think a lot of the time it is. And, we saw some amazing pieces last year. Our finalists, Windstar, Terry Sharp, just amazing. And we see why people got disqualified.
Sure. I mean, if you're lacking in some area, you're going to get weeded out one way or the other. And when you get to the end, depending on how you land on the bracket and who you go up against, whoever might be in that first round that looked like the star of the show in the beginning, they might not be there in the end.
And, another awesome part of this is that it really is about community and the people who are voting on this. Collectors, artists, pipe makers, torch workers, lamp workers, a lot of people all around. But I think it's a very high caliber as far as the knowledge base, the enthusiasm base.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everybody's voting on this and the internet's open to everybody. But I think the people who are participating, and, shout out to the folks on YouTube, RoboGlass, Glass Surfer in the house, and Facebook, all of you, kind of know what you're looking for and know what you're talking about. So we're confident that our winner is going to be extremely high caliber. We're excited to see how it goes down. We've got no idea how it's going to play out and sort of what people are looking for. I mean, we can maybe, before we, talk about the rest of the stuff we'll do this week, a little bit about kind of last year, and maybe just give folks a little bit of background for ourselves here. I'm not a probation officer. I just dressed like one for this event, right? And went bald early. My name's Eli Harrington. I'm a cannabis event producer here in Vermont. And sort of my role is going to be to help MC and lead us through here. But, this only works because we've also got an expert here, our man Rajan Tech, who is himself a glass maker. He's an artist. He's an industrial designer. Raj, maybe you can give people a little bit of background about yourself because you've got the really hard job here, answering all these technical questions and leading us through this.
Sure.
And as a representative of the community.
Well, my responsibility is to basically examine each bracket and determine and sort of break it down for the public what aspects of the pieces really stood out, what aspects of the pieces that may have not been so obvious as feats of glass to the untrained eye, and to really shine a light on those features that every artist has really done exceptionally well.
And that is such a huge part of it. I know from last year it was so much fun learning about making millies, learning about these things behind the scenes, just as an example, dichrome and all these processes, which a lot of people, they see something in a shop like the Bern Gallery, and they see this beautiful piece and they like it. It's like a food that you smell it and it smells good, but you don't necessarily know what the spice is, right?
Exactly.
So you're going to be able to help pull this apart and say, this technique is actually, this. And we've got a lot of great media from our competitors themselves. And ultimately, that's really what this is about, spotlighting the artists, spotlighting the community, and really making sure that competitive pipe making always has a home. So, a big thank you again, Glass Torch Technologies and Moodmats making this possible, and the team here at the Bern Gallery for innovating, for adapting. I know everybody's pumped to get back in person. I know I sure am, for Pipe Classic, but I really like this innovation as a way to talk to people and, to hear back from the community as well.
Yeah, keep the flame alive and
yes,
keep it burning.
Exactly. And, I think throughout the week, we want you guys, you folks to participate, ask questions, comment on the Instagram, reach out to us. I know we'll share our handles are out there, but really get in touch with the Bern Gallery team. And make sure you're checking out berngallery.com because we're going to be dropping different features on there throughout the week. And really this week, a lot like, the Pipe Classic in person, we've got a packed schedule of different events that are going on this week. So it's not just that we're going to hop on here online, and tell you guys sort of this person got 800 votes and this person got 700. We're going to actually go through, we're going to talk to artists, we're going to go behind the scenes, and we're actually going to have glass drops happening throughout the week. So we actually had one that went down today, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that was Chad Lacey,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. And those are going to happen at 4:20. We've got one today. We've got Dew Glass dropping tomorrow. So check those out at berngallery.com, because that's one of the things that we'll be bringing you. But another one we talked a little bit about, behind the scenes interviews. We want to talk to the artists, and so we've got some IG Lives, but we also have a behind the scenes interview. Maybe you can give the folks just a little bit of a teaser of this trip that you took, just to make this happen, going across a couple states very safely, with all precautions followed. Give people a little sneak peek.
Sure. I mean, well, it kind of came together right at the end, but I had the opportunity to go meet with Willie and Wally and get their story about how their torch kind of got birthed into the world and the journey that they took to get to where they are today. And let me tell you, it was a wild, wild story with just things I would never have expected. And yeah, we'll be airing that, I believe, on Friday, right?
Right, exactly. And I mean, that's another really fun part of this for everybody, is to actually get to see some of the people who make this community. The people who are making the glass, the people who are helping sell it, the collectors, the enthusiasts, the OGs, right, who are out here. Because I think a lot of the time, Raj, glass, the culture has been underground, right? And we can't really do this event, and especially sitting here with a shaved head and a suit on, without paying homage to everything that's happened, people whose freedom was taken away, for pursuing this, and so maybe you can give folks a little bit of context about sort of how far this has come from sort of a niche underground community to now, we see pipe making on Netflix, right?
Right. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know there was a time when people were put into jail for this sort of thing. And even today, we're still facing restrictions on social media about what we can say and what we can do. And, there's people out there writing algorithms to see if you're doing the wrong thing. And, those are just resources being spent out there for who knows what reason. And, we're edging closer to absolute freedom, and, we're on that trajectory. And hopefully in another couple of years, we'll be able to really expand on that.
Yeah. Well, and, like we said, we're going to have IG Live interviews. We've got Fat Guy Edibles, phenomenal supporters. They're going to be helping us out with that. Magic Man, North Jersey Diamond Wheel, they're all supporting our IG Live. So we'll be doing that throughout the week. Raj, you'll be doing that. That's going to be on the Bern Gallery Instagram page, of course. And, the rest of this, like we said, YouTube, Facebook, please do share it. We're hoping that the suit and tie algorithm can defeat the talking about pipe making algorithm out there. And we can stay on all week. So, keep your comments PG-13 so we can read them on here. So shout out to everybody who's out there. Sir Dirty, Kelly Katana, we appreciate all of you folks for tuning in. Again, Raj, let's talk a little bit about, sort of before we go and show the bracket itself, which berngallery.com. Head over there, watch the video, make sure you're registered, and then we can go through it and you can sort of vote in real time. I think that's the most fun way to do it. So before we do that, as somebody who is part of this community yourself, what are some of the things that the public don't know about this process, besides how hard it is, and sort of what are some of the things that you talk about with artists and some of the things that you're looking for in these pieces? Take us behind the scenes a little bit in the mindset of somebody who's competing in this.
I mean, I think a big part of it is there's just a large financial commitment. People are taking time off of their production schedules to spend upwards of a month to create a piece for this competition, and that's a large endeavor. It's hard to imagine anybody in any other career taking a month off just to have the opportunity to be in the competition. I think that's the part that weighs the most on the competitor, and that weight of wanting to win is also exacerbated by the weight of wanting that sacrifice to be
right,
made whole.
Because I mean, I would imagine that everybody who is an artist professionally, you have to find the balance, between the purely artistic and the purely commercial to be able to do this and make a living. Something we'll be talking about with a very well-known pipe maker later on in the week is kind of how you find that balance and make this something sustainable. Talk a little bit about kind of how the technology plays into this too, because we have we'll be showing them throughout the week, thanks to Glass Torch Technologies and Moodmats, some phenomenal prizes. We've actually got torches for our winners. Amazing technology, but maybe give a little bit of insight, because that's another big commitment, right? So what are some of the techniques we're going to be seeing, and kind of how does the technology play into this? And I guess one thing I'm wondering too is that, is it really just about who's got the best torch, who can afford the best supplies and who's got enough time to just do this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how can somebody up and coming kind of make a name and, come out in this? And how does that, does the technology make it unbalanced, or is it pretty level?
No, I don't think the technology makes it unbalanced. I think that, if you're trying to measure who can melt in a vac stack the fastest, then yeah, technology, the person with the bigger torch is going to get there faster. But in the world of art, in this, there's so many possibilities out there. That should not be a limiting factor. And then on the other half of that, you have certain competitors that are capable of making their own technology that affect their own processes and advance those skills to a new level. And, it could be argued that those competitors have a skill set that gives them an advantage by the ability to make those tools to make certain aspects of the process easier. So, I think that is on the glass level. And then on the competition level, a lot of these glass blowers are phenomenal glass blowers. They may not be phenomenal videographers or video editors, and the nature of the Cyber Pipe Classic is that, when we are in person, we're able to experience not just the piece, but the person at the voting ceremony and throughout the week, and we get to, absorb their vibe and understand them as people. And here we have to kind of filter that through a digital format. And so it's a whole new level of bringing yourself through that, right. And it's a different skill set aside from just making a pipe or blowing glass.
Right, but it's a really interesting point, because you would think if you're going to be successful in this scene, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to be able to market yourself, to promote yourself in some way or another, right? So for some of these artists, I'm sure it was a huge challenge. And a lot of folks aren't really comfortable in front of the camera.
Exactly.
And really talking about your art is something a lot of artists don't really enjoy doing. So we appreciate it. And again, a huge shout out to all the competitors who participated. We're gonna read through everybody's name and show that in just a second. But you also hit on another piece that I just wanted to bring up too. The kind of wild card being the voting in the public, right? What's going to resonate with folks out there floating in the world outside of our space station here.
Exactly.
And sort of, is it something that's themed, sort of what's happening in the world? Is it a style that we haven't seen before? Is it somebody incorporating a different kind of animal or function or curve or ingredient? So, this is the part that's also super interesting for all of us, is kind of, and I really think for the artists themselves, seeing, what's hitting out there. What are the styles? What are the techniques? I think last year we saw Windstar, kind of incorporate a lot of stained glass, sort of reminiscent. Terry Sharp had the Plague Doctor, our two finalists, which was so timely, obviously. We were doing this here in, Mass, more or less.
Me personally, I when I looked at all the pieces, and then after I saw their submission videos, some of my opinions of some of the pieces changed. Just being able to understand what the artist's thought process was behind it. So I think, the competitors really need to think about what they're presenting as a whole package deal, and not just one part of it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, like you said, kind of taking that pipe classic, get to hang out and, party with the competitors and see them work and get a feel. Same thing here. All these folks are on social media. They're all out there. So throughout the week, as we go through the competition, you can actually watch what they're doing, go get to kind of know them, even just by following their page, making sure you check out their videos, which people did spend a lot of time and energy making. So I think without further ado, we should get into the bracket breakdown
Let's
itself,
do it.
right? All right. Let's do it. All right, so as you folks see here, we have got our bracket sponsor, Sunset Lake CBD. Really appreciate their support. Phenomenal Vermont company here. So you'll see them on the bracket all week as we get narrower, and narrow the field down to finally our champion of the Cyber Pipe Showdown. So what we're going to do, and you folks will be able to see the names who are disqualified. And again, for those just tuning in, disqualified in this case doesn't mean there were any shenanigans, no wrongdoing. These are people who entered a piece and for whatever reason didn't make it all the way to the end. And it sounds like a lot of them, it was going too hard in the paint.
I think it's what it was. I think a lot of these artists, they were grinding to the last second. They were grinding till, burning that midnight oil. And that's when mistakes happen.
Exactly. And a huge credit, to the community of the Bern Gallery scene, because people want to be spotlighted. They want to be part of this platform. We want to have you all, and we appreciate you all. So we are going to, for tonight, tomorrow we're going to talk about all the technical aspects. We're going to kind of nerd out. We're going to talk about colors, function, get reaction, and get into each piece in a little bit more detail. For tonight, this is kind of just the appetizer. Just want a little amuse-bouche, wet the palate a little bit here.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a sense of what we're going to be doing here all week. So we're not going to get into all of it, but what we'll do, and Raj, I'll let you go ahead and start. We're just going to read through the name, put them all up on the screen, and zip down through them. And then we come back tomorrow night and every other night. We're going to get more and more and more into the details, more into the artists, and talk more about each individual piece. So, without further ado, Raj, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
So the first bracket we had Hoobs versus Bearclaw. Bearclaw, unfortunately, was not able to get his submission in. I was really hoping to see him in here. There's some legendary pipe classic stories about Bearclaw. I was quite excited to see what was going to come out of that. But yeah, Hoobs moving on to the next round.
Awesome. And, like we said, we spent a lot of time, I say the royal we here, the team talking about the competition itself and the actual brackets and working through the disqualifications and the deadlines and all this. So this has evolved quite a bit, and a lot of thought has gone into this. So without further ado, go ahead.
The next bracket we got McClam versus Jason Howard. And this, to me, felt like a very equal matchup. I don't know which way this is going to go. I mean, both pieces are just astounding.
We're gonna see a lot more of this and get into each one in detail tomorrow too. So I don't want to give too much away here to the folks who haven't signed up. So the next matchup, it looks like we've got Blossom, fellow familiar competitor from last year, and RoboGlass. See a lot going on in these pieces. That's gonna be fun. All right, VT Boro.
Next up we got VT Boro up against the disqualified, so he's gonna be moving on.
All right, a familiar name to most coming up next. Punty, moving on automatically past the disqualified Kairu Glass.
Up next, we got Loco Boro and Nady Love, both astounding pieces.
Ooh, I like that. That's very unique on the right there. We'll be talking about that one a lot. Okay, after that, KT Scissor Baby and Shaggy. And again, we're starting to see some themes. Okay. Man, I can't wait to spend a lot more time looking at these.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Up next, we got Hensley Art Glass up against the disqualified. He's going on to the next round.
All right. Are we still on this side of the bracket, fellas? Or we switched over to our other side yet here? I think we're still on the other side? Okay. So we're on the other side of the bracket here. So, like you see, the whole thing is the Sunset Lake CBD bracket. And you'll see we're just going through each of the matchups. So this one we had Jaywalker Glass, who moved on past the disqualified Catfish John.
And next we have Subliminal Glass up against Gibson.
All right, Ducks Glass be facing off against Rhodes Glass.
After that, we got Frankie Hess up against a disqualified. Congrats, Frankie.
All right, another name, Tammy Baller. I won't read her name correctly because we don't want to get kicked off YouTube here.
Yeah.
Tammy Blanken Baller moved on past the disqualified, Skull-Ed Glass.
Yep. And then we got another repeater. We got Joe Morrison back from last year and Dr. Johns.
All right, 2 more left. Duran Glass moved on past the disqualified Terry Sharp. Bummer, we appreciated Terry taking a few minutes to talk with us last year. If you haven't seen that interview, go back and check it out.
And after that, we got Simple Glass. And also against a disqualified, so congratulations, Simple.
All right, so as you see, we had a bunch of submissions. It took a lot just to get to that level. And again, we thank the folks who were disqualified. Question of pieces not making it, deadlines, videos, a lot of different things, but we really appreciate all the time and energy of the artists and congratulate all of our competitors who are part of the official bracket. So like we said, just a little warm up for tonight. We're going to get into each piece and spend a little bit more time talking about each of them in more detail over each of the next few nights. Before we do that, we mentioned Glass Torch Technologies, amazing prize, the torches that we have here for our winners. We mentioned Moodmats making this possible, our presenting sponsors. Really also want to give a shout out. A lot of these are Vermont businesses. We are here at the Bern Gallery in Vermont, which has been the home of competitive pipe making and the Pipe Classic, and now the Cyber Pipe Showdown. So we do also want to give a big shout out to our other main event sponsors here who make this possible. Glass Vegas, Glass Alchemy, Vermont Cannabis Solutions, our attorneys, big shout out to them. Flow Magazine, a lot of you folks are familiar. We talked about Fat Guy Edibles. Can't wait to be back eating ice cream upstairs in the shop again with Fat Guy Edibles. Appreciate that. Green State Gardener, blowing up here in Burlington. Great time to be in the grow business and the gardening business. Min's Pipe Show. We mentioned Sunset Lake CBD. Torch Talk, phenomenal. If you're into this scene, really recommend checking out Torch Talk. And IASO Goods. That's IASO, IASO Goods. Really, really cool company based here in Vermont. If you haven't checked out their grinders yet, the stainless steel grinders, highly recommend checking them out. So we want to give them all a big shout out. And again, we are going to have some bracket breakdown live episode sponsors individually that we'll talk about a little bit each night. But we'll be coming back to this bracket. We'll be doing live glass drops at 4:20 each of the next couple days, starting with Chad Lacey today. That's online at theberngallery.com. And then tomorrow with Do Glass. But the voting has begun. You can get there on the website, watch the video, make sure you are signed up, registered to vote. Maybe the most important vote of your life, probably, I think we can say. Since we've started doing this, I think we can agree this has been the most impactful election that we've seen, has been the Cyber Pipe Showdown that we've had. So please do your part out there, folks. Raj, anything else that we should talk about before we send folks out here for the night?
I think all that's left to do is to leave this in the hands of the voters.
All right. Well, you heard the man. It's now in your hands, folks. So we want you to all make sure, go vote online at berngallery.com. Follow along on the Instagram, hashtag Pipe Classic, or Cyber Pipe Showdown. Check us out on IG. And as always, may the best pipe win. All right, for the Bern Gallery and our sponsors, Glass Torch Technology and Moodmats, Eli Harrington, Raj and Tech, signing off for the night. We'll see you folks back here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another Cyber Pipe Showdown breakdown tomorrow.